I think every generation has their pros and cons.
You know, Gen X thought of us millennials as more like strawberry, softer, cannot take hardship. Ironically, now when it's our turn, I can't help but feel that you could describe Gen Z similarly as well. But of course, I'm sure there are many exceptions and instances that will prove me wrong.
I do feel that the Gen Zs actually do face a higher amount of pressure than we did at their age. They came out to work at an instance where the pandemic was happening.
How do we ensure that these people succeed, right? So I think that's what I care about. Not whether are we better than them or are they softer than us. I think all this doesn't really matter to me. It's more like if they are built this way, then are they built for success?
I think I know one thing that Gen Zs are driven by: freedom. Okay, here's the thing. We like freedom too.
We love
right?
freedom.
Yeah, we love freedom as well. But we understand that sometimes you need to compromise.
Alright guys, welcome back to Against the Grain. Today is episode 7 and we will actually be discussing one of the most hottest and controversial topics right now. Probably Don's favorite subtopic. Okay, Generation Z, in short form Gen Z, people born between 1997 and 2012, otherwise known as the worst generation so far.
Who said that though?
Headlines everywhere probably. Okay, so today we're going to find out if this generation really are losing all the social skills, as people are saying, or perhaps are they really actually a new catalyst for a new wave of social interaction. So maybe just to get the ball rolling first, why don't I give you guys a bit of iconic references between our generation and Gen Z, just to kind of get a sense of where we stand. Okay, some iconic toys that we grew up with, Beyblade. Some iconic toys that Gen Z actually grew up with right now is called Bakugan. I don't know, don't quote me, I did my research. I don't know if this is actually true or not.
Actually, I do know what Bakugan is.
Wow.
But you didn't grow up with it,
Yeah lah.
in a way.
They grew up with Bakugan.
I guess so.
I thought they grew up with iPad.
Ours is iPod. iPad came out actually earlier also. They grew up with a lot of smart speakers for some reason. Okay, millennial idols. Our idols are Beyonce, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift,
Okay.
familiar names. Gen Z idols, Jungkook
Who's that?
from BTS, Lisa, Blackpink, Billie Eilish. Millennial cartoons for us, SpongeBob SquarePants, Simpsons, Power Rangers.
South Park.
Gen Z, Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, and of course all the Marvel movies lah. Okay, some very important events from our time. Of course, the invention and of course the introduction of the iPhone. Social media came into place. I remember signing up for my first Instagram account when I was 17, 18, or was it Facebook? I can't remember also.
Is that when you start liking all those suspicious photos on Explore
Yeah,
page?
I
probably
always
me.
I always
Probably
see
me
his
back
name,
then.
man.
Yeah, me too. That's why I say. But I hope he's a changed man
Don't
now.
follow me, guys. Of course, COVID-19. Gen Z, of course, they grew up with the introduction of VR, virtual reality, and of course, a lot of new AI matters right now. Okay, guys, so over to you all. How would you all describe, in your own words, the current group of Gen Zs?
You want to go first? Or?
Yeah, I guess that's why I asked you where is the headline from, right? Saying this is the worst generation.
I just did a Google check.
Yeah, because I feel like this has been said for
Every generation.
every generation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure when we were, what was our generation?
I was millennial.
Yeah, I'm sure
above us is what?
Gen
Gen
X.
X.
Gen X.
but I'm sure that the Gen X has said about the millennials, they're probably the worst generation, right? Because of
True.
blah 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 blah. So I think, I mean, I don't really buy into that, right? I think every generation has their pros and cons, right? The good points and the bad points, right? But I think what we can speak about, or what I will be able to speak about, is my own interactions
Yeah.
with the Gen Zs per se, right? Because also my own sister is a Gen Z, she's 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess.
Do you feel a lot of disconnect with her?
No, actually, she's pretty. Okay, I have two sisters, one is 1994, right? So they're pretty close. So I don't think there's a disconnect, right? But I do think that there are certain influences within their generation that perhaps causes certain shifts in perspective and mentality from us to them, right? Which I think we will also get into discussing, right?
Don,
Was that the question?
The question is just how would you describe current group of Gen Zs?
Oh, okay.
I mean, of course, this is not a sweeping statement. It's not meant to be an absolute statement. It's not meant to generalize. I guess just as how, Gen X thought of us millennials as more like strawberry, softer,
Yeah.
cannot take hardship. I mean, ironically, now when it's our turn, I can't help but feel that as a large whole, right, you could describe Gen Z similarly as well. But of course, I'm sure there are many exceptions and instances that would prove me wrong, lah. Right? I mean, I wouldn't say that I've had a lot of interaction, but I mean, you guys also know, right? Every year we do 2 internships with university students, which allow us the
Yep.
chance to interact and sometimes even work with quite a number of these Gen
Yep.
Zs. So perhaps the word soft isn't quite the right word. I don't think that's necessarily the right word. But I want to say idealistic,
Yeah, they are, lah, I would say.
right? So I think, and I'll give you some comparisons and some contrast maybe later on, right? But, okay, maybe I'll in fact do it now, lah, right? I think, back in our parents' time, when they were our age or when they were, in their early 20s, right? What were the things that were important to them back then? Really, it was about financial stability, start a family, and it doesn't really quite matter to me as much, what my job is or like, whether I love what I'm doing and all these things, right? Most importantly, I can,
Yeah.
provide a living to not just myself and my loved ones also. Now, of course, when we grew up, right, we had more luxury than that, right? We were able to, look at things that we were interested in, right? But I think overall, decently speaking, we were still kept rather grounded, and I would say that a lot of our decisions come from more practical sources rather than anything else. Again, I might be wrong, but when I look at Gen Zs and not just the people that we have met, but also just overall sentiment and opinion expressed on social media like TikTok or what, the sensing I'm getting, and again I might be wrong, the sensing I'm getting is that they're a lot more idealistic, right? Things like money or financial or job security, all these things, for example, are not to say not important to them, but they take a back seat compared to things like, okay, am I fulfilling my purpose, right? Or what is my purpose even, right? Am I fulfilled? Am I happy here? Is this an inclusive environment,
Yep.
right? So these are all things where I think generations before us and our parents wouldn't even really think so much about.
Yep.
And to some extent, I think it's a luxury for them to be able to consider all of these things now, right? Not to say it's a bad thing inherently, but when you start to place more focus on these things, in terms of, again, I think success is something that has a loose definition. Different people have different ideas of what it means, right? But I think if you really want to continuously grow as a person, right, being too idealistic in your thoughts is something that could potentially hold you back, because you are seldom gonna put yourself at a grind to work. That's why I
But if I
think.
can contribute one point to this in favor of the Gen Z, right? So a lot of them, of course, has been commented to be very soft, as though they were born in front of a computer. They are very technological savvy, but lacking a lot in social skills. But at the same time, is it also because of a byproduct of being overly, like I said, they didn't have to think about all these kind of things. Also because in a way, their parents have provided for them to the extent that they didn't have to fight for it, right? So I'd like to share a story. I had a friend who was supposed to go on an overseas trip with a group of students. So she was asked by the course coordinator to be sort of like a chaperone for the students. And this friend is taking an SQ flight to the overseas country. The other students have actually been put on a normal Scoot flight, right? The parents of the students actually came forward to my friend and said, "Oh, you are taking SQ. Is it possible if I also upgrade my kid to the SQ flight, right? Can you help to take care of them?" Right? The course coordinator also asked them to say that when you are overseas, help to make sure that when they are over there, that they are safe and that they are going to, let's say if they go out drinking, all this kind of stuff, right? That they don't go overboard, at least still turn up for class and everything. So of course my friend was really worried. So how am I supposed to take care of like 20, 30 students out of the blue? So she was a little bit concerned. But when she was over there, all the concern was instantly lost. You know why? all these students, right, when class ended, she asked them, where you guys headed out tonight? And all the students said, we're not going anywhere. We're going back to the hostel to study. Like they are so afraid, or rather maybe they are so sheltered to a point where they don't even take that step what to go and explore. Like if it was us, we would instantly be saying, oh, let's meet at this club or this bar, whatsoever it is, right? So it went to the point where she had to encourage the students to take a step out and be more daring and actually go and explore the country. That not an opportunity that they get very often also. So this is a very interesting perspective as to how you would think that they could be more idealistic, but at the same time they're also very sheltered.
I think we are shaped by, I guess our generation is shaped by our experiences, right? So you think about it this way, right? I feel like maybe they are definitely different from us, right? Also because they experience different things, which is what you mentioned, right? If let's say I grew up in a very sheltered family, I had everything. Okay, the only person that says that, okay, so of course for us, we do internships, right? We speak to the interns, and of course we convert, good interns, high potential people. We speak to people in the schools and whatnot, back in NUS and the different faculties and whatever, right? So we have spoken to I think like thousands of students at this point of time, right? And I think as we go across the years, I think I was telling you guys previously also that when we joined 10 years ago, like high income was one of the most important things.
Yep.
At least to me, right? Because I came from nothing.
Yep.
So if you come from nothing, the first thing is you need money. If not, you straight away pass away already.
And your parents always say you better get a high paying job.
Yeah. Why you study so hard?
Yeah.
So they every day force you to study so hard, to get to good schools, to study even harder, to get good grades. Why? To go to a good university, to then get a good job, get good pay, then have a good life. Correct? So that is what we are fed, right? But of course, throughout this journey, then that led me to believe that, okay, high income is something that I really want in my career, and that's a priority for me. But as you go along the years, right, as we do the talks, we realize that the same things that attracted us 10 years ago and now, right, doesn't work anymore. Right? Because I do speak to some of the Gen Zs nowadays, ask them, like, what are the 2 or 3 things that is a non-negotiable in your future career? They tell me things like balance. They tell me things like they want to feel like they are growing, right? They want to feel like they impact society, they have value, they make a difference, things like that. But these things, not say it's not important, they are important, right?
Yeah.
But these things will never be above high income for me, because I came from a family without income, right? The only people that can say that, right, is people that don't have to worry about money for a single day of their life. Then you can say, income actually not really my concern. The people that can say that, right, is because their family got money, right? So when they have this experience as they're growing up, right, I'm not surprised that they view things differently, they react differently.
Is that really just a Gen Z thing though? Because I'm sure there are people who are not Gen Z who are also in a similar boat, they may struggle or what before, and I don't think necessarily think it has to be tied to a generation.
Yeah, so it's not a generation thing. Just that our parents' generation is because who are their parents? These buggers came from kampong, right? So they also had nothing. So when your parents grew up, they also, most of our parents' generation is like self-built, right? They are self-created wealth, right? Then of course, in between us and them, there's also this group of people, right, who then produce these Gen Zs nowadays, right? So they work hard, they will worry about high income, blah blah blah, whatever it is, right? So they build a family with financially secure. So now when the Gen Zs are born, not everybody but more of them are born into an environment that money is not so important, not a priority for them because they already have it. Not everybody, but more so than us.
More so than
For sure,
past,
for sure. There are more people of financial assistance last time than now, for sure, right? Because everyone is more well off. Singapore is more well off in general, right? Cannot be Singapore, progress so far financially from 20 years ago until now, and everyone's still the same level of financial security. Is impossible, right? So I think that creates more people that have this thought, and also once again, then that builds the environment, right? Then when this is the environment, then you groupthink, then push most people in this direction. So I think that's why they turn out this way, right? Not say it's good or bad, but I think when you speak to them, it's a different approach.
Yeah.
Right.
If I could also chime in on this, actually, if I could, maybe not a very popular opinion, but I do feel that the Gen Zs actually do face a higher amount of pressure than we did
Oh yeah.
at their age. To be very frank, they came to work at an instance where the pandemic was happening. They came to an instance also where there was widespread scams also happening as well. So like there's a lot of distrust going around the world. So like maybe that's one of the reasons why they place the value of trustworthiness and being able to make an impactful change or meaningful change so high on their scale. So imagine your entire school life, right? Especially university, we didn't get to experience what we did. Let's say we get to go out, hang out at the orientation camps, hang out at all the clubs, hang out after class, doing project work together. They did all this remotely, online. I guess they also kind of severely limited their ability to have team working or team building experiences. So they affect their ability to form meaningful social interactions with people. Someone also mentioned to me that's also one of the reasons why they turned to TikTok, right? Because that was the easiest way for them to be able to get that amount of human
expression.
touch. They were able to get sort of like a human touch from TikTok, and that's why they're so hard on that app.
I think this is an interesting topic, right? Because to me, as we grow the organization, the business also, we always talk about the rejuvenation of advisors, right, down the road. So we still hire quite a significant proportion of our new advisors from the schools, which means that they're Gen Z, right, in a sense. So then the question is that how do we ensure that these people succeed? Right. So I think that's what I think I care about. Not whether are we better than them or are they softer than us. I think all this doesn't really matter to me. It's more like if they are built this way, right, then are they built for success? Right? Are there certain things that they should do, they should not do, they should do differently than us to achieve a similar level of success? I think that's important, right? So I think that is the question, because that's a question mark for me also, because we can't do the same way like how it happened for us, and we expect them to make it big also, or make it or be successful also, because it's totally different world, right? They totally different perspectives and whatever not.
So
right?
on this topic of success, I'd like to share with you guys one interesting change or habit that's happening for the Gen Zs also, which I think this is something that is a very, I would say, impactful change, and something that even our generation can learn from also. So due to their nature of wanting all this meaningfulness in their work, right? There's an ongoing trend right now where there's a rise of Gen Z CEOs. Like they want to escape the corporate ladder. They want to work for someone that they don't have respect in.
That's good.
They don't work in a company that's not aligned with their values. So they say, okay, why not I start my own company? So there are Gen Z CEOs right now with companies that only hire Gen Zs.
Okay.
Right? I took one example from this girl. I think I have no idea how old she. She has 35 staff working globally for her. And one of the key things in their company they will never ever have a meeting. You only have a meeting if the client requests for it, or if your team is coming together just to kind of schedule what are the timings that you want to work around. So let's say if in her company the three of us are working together, and we say, okay, three of us, we want to know what are the working hours, right? We can even set 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., which is apparently the most productive hours reported, right? And then these hours are exclusive to us. Anything else outside of this, right, you can do your own thing. So there's this ongoing trend right now where they are trying to maximize the productivity. So they still want success, right? But they're trying to find their own ways of doing it.
So I think we need to talk about, are there parallels that can be drawn, right, between us and them? Are there certain traits that, is present throughout the generations? And if let's say we can answer that question, right, then doesn't that mean that it doesn't really matter what generation you're in?
Yep.
If you possess these traits or you do these things, then you can win in life.
Come to think of it, I think, even though we may now, just as how our parents thought of us as strawberries, now we would think of Gen Z as something similar, right? But actually, throughout every generation, there are always going to be bumps, right? There are tons of people in our parents' generation, or even our own generation, who, are not really doing much with their lives. They can be even detrimental to society, some of them, right? And generally, they may be negative influences. So, for example, I've met people before who get into gambling, right? Incur massive debt. And I think that is something that is even more common amongst the older folk. Then there are people, our generation, who, they don't do the most savory things also lah, sometimes, right? So I think no matter which gen you look at, there will always be the rotten apples, the black sheep in a way, right? And of course, at the same time, there will be the good ones also, right? So based on the question of, what Rube asked, like what is consistent throughout all the different generations, right? I'm still thinking, to be honest, what is a commonality that ties us. But I know one commonality, which is what I said, is that there are black sheep wherever you go.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily think that is, something that, but, let's hear from you guys also.
I guess it's like what you said, like, is how you define or confine the definition of success, definition of professionalism also in the workplace. Maybe if I could throw the question to you guys, in what areas of our current work environment do you feel that a Gen Z would actually like and would actually thrive?
Well, I think firstly you must be of a different breed, I think, to like firstly like the industry, secondly want to work with us out of all different places, right? Because, okay, I think I know one thing that Gen Zs are driven by: freedom.
Fair.
Right? Like, okay, here's the thing. We like freedom too.
We love
right?
freedom.
Yeah, we love freedom as well. But we understand that sometimes you need to compromise. Of course, again, ideal is you can have it all, right? Who doesn't want that? But I think there are a lot of situations where we realize that it's a give and take. Right? For example, if I want to be in line to promote faster, then I know that I need to be willing to sacrifice and put in more time.
You can't be
into
the
work.
most work-life balance person.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
promote
Something has
lah.
got to give. Right? But I feel that Gen Zs, they think a bit differently, where like, hey, all this work shit, like it cannot be the priority. Priority has to be like, my mental health, all these intangible things. Again, to each his own, right? But if we are talking within the context of Odyssey, why a Gen Z would want to be here or like here, right? It's because they want to stand against the grain, right? From what their peers or what, in general might be used to.
Yeah.
Right? They are okay to give up this idea of work-life balance, freedom, all that kind of thing, in exchange for a hard grind, right? Long hours of hard work and putting yourself through all that trial, tribulation, hardship in order to grow as a person and then eventually grow your career.
And then ironically, then you get to enjoy the freedom and balance.
Yeah.
But later on, not now.
Not now.
Yeah. So I think our consensus is that it doesn't happen now. You have to earn it.
Correct. We all want
But
freedom.
for them is that they feel that
Okay,
now,
yes,
now it
I
can happen
agree.
now.
So I think that is, yes. So I'm starting to see it already, right? So there's this idea, okay, let's say for us, we buy into the idea of 先苦后甜, right? You kind of put in the hours, the work, now you suffer now in a way, right? And then you enjoy later.
Yeah.
Or maybe concurrently, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be later. Whereas perhaps the younger generation, their idea, again, it's hard to say for sure, and this is not meant to generalize, right?
Yep.
This is more
Just a discussion.
a general observation or trend that we see, rather than it apply to everybody. I feel that they are more focused on the present, right? And it could also be a right train of thought, right? Which is, why not I enjoy my life and the freedom now, right? And then maybe it's okay if I maybe set back later, rather than I set back now or sacrifice now that I enjoy later. Because I thought about this before. The line of argument, right, is that even if I were to work now and enjoy later, but I'll be enjoying later at an older age. Right? What if my later comes in my late 40s, my 50s?
So I can't really enjoy lah. Basically,
Yeah,
you're
so
saying.
even if you give me all that, even if I've all the money in the world, my body is not the same as what it used to be, man. There
Yeah,
are
fair.
physical limitations right now to what I may or may not be able to enjoy. Right? Compared to, let's say now, I'm young. I'm much more able-bodied compared to the average person who's already in their 50s, 60s or beyond. All right? I may not have the most resources right now, but I'm able to sort of enjoy more to the fullest now. Right? So I thought about this before and I felt that actually that does make sense to some degree. Of course, we know that it can be done both at the same time. You can have it. But for a lot of people who think more in terms of a binary, then perhaps it may make sense to them, right, that enjoying later, well, being pushed as an idea for years already, may not actually make the most sense also. And I, to some extent, also agree. What do you guys think?
Like what you say, Lord, there's a lot of overlapping areas, a lot of overlapping benefits also. And if you think about it, do they want meaning in their job, in their life? They do. I think we all do as well. Do they want to be in a job where they can have a lot of potential, the ability to make change, to develop trust, and also the ability to have high income? I find it very hard to find people who say that they don't want any of this. Right? So I guess it's just going to be what areas can we find common ground in, and if we can have a conversation about that to develop them. So okay, say maybe in financial advisory, here's how you can actually create meaningful impact and change in your clients' lives. Show them some examples. Is this something that you might be able to incorporate into your work? And who knows, maybe from there they find greater value also, and then stream from there.
I mean, I try to extrapolate. I mean, because in our organization, of course, also I come across people who are Gen Zs, right? And they do like pretty reasonably well, right? Compared to their peers and whatnot. So I know for a fact that, it's not a generational thing. There are people who, within each generation, still have the tools and have the traits to succeed, right? At the highest level, right? And then, of course, with us as the way we build the organization and the culture as well, right? So I think if I were to think like about what these people have that maybe like their peers don't, maybe those people who didn't pass the interview or didn't get through the internship or whatever not like they don't have, right, is that first is, I think as what Don said, right, they want to be a bit different from their friends. Sometimes I speak to them, they tell me like, oh, like, you know what, actually my friends, right, like they like very nua. Like really, I don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't do much. Their life is not like progressing. They feel like, that it's like just going through with it, right? Just living every day, but to what end? Right. So it could be that. So they say they don't want that, right? I mean, it could also be certain questions that I ask. Right? So I ask them like, hey, can I just ask, right? Like when you meet your friends outside your friend group or whatever, right? Like how punctual or how on time are you guys? They say, oh, averagely, right, people are 1 hour to 1.5 hours late. They say, means what? You all set 7 o'clock, then 8:30, then you all like actually do the thing.
And most of them are like that.
Yeah, and the thing is that then you won't be early,
Yeah.
Because if my friend come 8:30, for what I come at 7? At 8:30 then I turn up, right? If not, I wasted 1.5 hours of my life. So this perpetuates this lack of punctuality, right, as normal,
Yeah.
right? Then if you were to be punctual, right, actually it sucks to be you because everyone else late.
Yeah.
Right? So why be punctual?
In fact, they could even laugh at you for being early.
Yeah, correct. So then in that case, then I ask them, so is this like, does it make sense to you? Is this a value that you want to build, in your own life? And then they say, not really. If I can, I want to be, punctual, I want to be professional, be on time, whatever it is, right? I say, okay, then that says then if you can join us and do whatever, we do, and then that makes sense for you. But I think one weakness I feel that the generation has, right, is that they are too interconnected. Social media, the internet, whatever it is, like I mean, in our generation when we were young, what we do, we play Game Boy and whatever lah. But Game Boy is like, okay, at most you play Pokemon, then you connect the thing, then you one person trade, right, like that.
And that was like super young.
Yeah,
That was
no,
like
but now the young
primary
people know what
school.
they're doing now. They dancing on TikTok, bro. at like 8 years old or 9 years old, for example, right? Which means that all their friends are also on the platform, right? Which means that everything they do, everything their friends do is all shared online.
Yeah.
So I think the weakness is, right, is that a lot of the Gen Zs, right, not everybody, of course, right, they care a lot about what other people think about them.
Public image.
Yeah.
Because their lives are so publicly shared,
Yeah.
right? That it is a legit fear and concern, right? Because if most of like 90% of my life people can see, then of course, I will care about what people think lah, about what I
Yeah.
do every day, right?
So you think this affects like the way their validation is being?
This affects their choices they make, right? Because when we talk, okay, why we created this was because we want to encourage people to go against the grain, the conventional perspectives on life, the conventional decision making that I guess most Singaporeans would make, and then of course to then achieve that kind of success. Because we can all agree that to be successful, it means that you are one of the few lah. The top 20% earn 80% of the money, ma. This is Pareto principle is what makes the world go round, right? So if you want to care so much about what people think, it means that at some point you need to conform with society's perceptions, society's thought process on what the right decision is, ma.
Yep.
Why will you go against the grain? Because going against the grain puts you at risk of being ridiculed, puts you at risk of being outcasted, puts you at risk of being like the outlier. Then when that happens, then everyone perception of you change, ma. You're no longer part of the gang or the crowd or whatever it is. And then who wants to be that? Nobody, ma. Innately nobody wants to have that happen, ma. So because of that, right, I think they have a very strong group think. Once they see something online, right, then they think, okay, this one is good, then I go this, and then blah, 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 everybody also think the same way. I think that's why but that's the weakness, because I feel that if you want to be great at something, you want to be successful, right, there's no way you do the same thing as what everybody does and then end up being more successful or being
Fair.
or beating everybody, ma,
Yeah.
in the game of life. Right? It just means that we will all be the same, ma, at some point. Right? So when you think about that, then I see that as a weakness, lah. If you want to, be different, I mean, if you want to be the top 1%, then you cannot act like the other 99%, ma.
True.
But if you care what people think, which is the 99%, I assume,
Yeah.
right? Because the 1% won't have the time to even care so much about what you're doing, lah. So if you care about what people think, is usually the 99%, right? Then to conform to them, you act like the 99%, lah, and make decisions that the 99% people will make, and then it's a circle, lor. How to be successful? How to do anything great in life if you choose and your choices are made same as everybody else. If that's an impossibility, ma, and because we all know here, right, in the last 9 years, we know that that's impossible. So the people that I see that have done well or have made it to some level of success, at least from what I know, is that they are more resilient to like, they don't care so much about what people's perception of them. But also maybe they also believe that, okay, these people are a bunch of like, like the 99%. So no point I care so much about what they think anyway, right? So I guess you need to have that mentality, lah. I feel, or that trait, if you want to succeed, even if you are a Gen Z, or I mean especially maybe if you are a Gen Z, right? And then I think that is the biggest indicator of success, lah. But anyone can build that, right? It doesn't matter what generation you're in, right? You can just say, hey, fuck whatever else people think. Right? You think, I mean, like, you also know, right? I mean, I think we talked about this before. When Elon Musk started the electric car thing with Tesla, right? Everyone also laughed at him. But what car we got electric one? Only got petrol, bro. What are you talking about? Then everyone, the whole world ridiculed him. Then, at some point he built Tesla, and then now he's one of the richest people in the world.
So one of the most eccentric.
Yeah. And then, he took over Twitter, right? Then Twitter was a tech company, ma. So most people are work from home during the pandemic. Once he took over Twitter, changed it to X, right, asked everyone to come back to office. Everybody, half the people quit or got fired. But he don't care. Right? Because that's his measure. That's how he believed his success was attained. So
Through being there.
Yeah. So how we believe our success is attained, we cannot impose that on the next generation. However, they still need to take certain areas and traits that I feel that we did well, and then put it, like, impart that into their own, whatever lifestyle it is, and succeed, lah. I mean, no one's gonna pay you like 8K off the bat without you providing value. What? But how can you expect that? Right? But you see your friend, my friend get paid 8K. Maybe your friend did a lot of shit that you didn't even know. Right? He deserves to be paid 8K. But you want 8K, then you say, oh, I'm not gonna accept any job unless they pay me 8,000. That's why a lot of people are unemployed for like 2-3 years after graduation. Because they don't want to accept like a lower paying job. I mean, good to know your worth lah, but like, is that really your worth?
I think if we did that, our parents would kill us.
No, I can't even do that because I will literally like die.
In debt, yeah.
I can't even, no food on the table, I also gone, right?
Yeah.
So we could have done that. Yeah,
But I guess you brought up a lot of interesting points, and it still points back also to the fact that right now, whichever Gen Z that come into the workforce, right,
Yep.
chances of them having the most immediate mentor or manager is going to be our generation, the millennials,
yeah,
majority of them. So I guess also a
Yep.
point of reflection that it is all the more important, all the more paramount, right, that our generation takes into account that we are going to shape the next generation of workforce, and how we bring them to this new level of success or could also greatly determine whether or not they do well, whether the company does well, and also whether we as mentors do well. Right. Some points that the Gen Z has also brought up is, okay, so last time when we have a office, right, and we have a chance to renovate it, what are the things that we still wanted to add to the office? We brought up like, oh, let's add like a bar, let's add like a ping pong table, let's add like some
yeah.
whatever lah, right?
To make it like a Google office.
I'm making like
lah,
Google
right?
Office, right? It's because like, our idea of an office should be fun. Idea office is an area where we can both work meaningfully, but at the same time still have time to relax and chill. But what Gen Z's want right now is, so they don't want things like ping pong tables and stuff. They want perhaps areas of more meaningful interactions. So it could be, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Gen Z's, but it could be perhaps, I don't know, more workshops, maybe more tables or more areas where they could have conversations about topics that they feel strongly about, where they can get to connect with other people.
Maybe
on
I
those
thought they
same
just don't want
topics.
to come office. They just want to work from home.
Maybe
I
not.
thought that's like the main perspective now.
I think if the office was structured in a way that they could enjoy certain activities, maybe they might be more inclined to come along. I mean, that's up to our generation to go and figure out also lah.
No, I think actually very simple lah. If you're Gen Z or whatever generation you're in, right, just need to find a place, organization or company, whatever lah, right, in whatever industry that you want to do, right, that just aligns with your values. Because values very hard to change lah, at the end of the day. Right? If your values is like all these things, right? Just find a company like maybe that Gen Z CEO's company who like no meeting one, blah blah blah, whatever is work whenever everyone, whatever timing. You just that aligns with your values, then do that lah. Find a job that's like that. Right? But you cannot expect that if your values are that, you go and work for a very, very old SME. Then you expect it to change to you. That's very difficult lah. Right? And for us the same, right? When a person comes into the door, we interview them or we talk to them for the first time, right? We tell them about our values, our culture. And we are very honest and upfront about it. Right? If you like what we tell you, if you envision yourselves, having these values and building on that and being here, right, with us and building that culture, right?
Yeah.
Then so be it, then you should be here. But for more often than not, of course, maybe 7, 8 out of 10 Gen Zs that I talk to, right, they say, oh wow, that sounds pretty hardcore. This sounds too serious. It's not something that I want to do. I don't envision myself, doing like having this type of culture at work or whatever. And that's fair enough, lor. Right, so to save everyone, some pain down the road, just find an organization that is,
That's
aligned
aligned
to
with
your
you,
values lah.
Yeah,
As a
actually,
person,
if
doesn't matter what
things are aligned,
generation.
like ultimately, if it's like willing buyer, willing seller also, right?
Yeah,
If both are agreeable, then who's to say anything else?
So yeah, I mean, you say you're Gen Z, find an organization that is aligned to you. If you're a business owner, you're an employer, right? Interview people and then tell them your values and your work style, whatever it is, and then only hire people who are aligned to that lah. You hire someone that's totally not aligned, then you expect them to change. That's like what? You're expecting a fish to climb a tree. Very difficult. I mean, you can change their values over time, yes, possible, but the fact that it's very difficult, so there has to be some base to even start, the process to even work upon that, right? So I don't think it's, I guess in summary, right, I don't think it's a bad generation, maybe just misunderstood. We haven't figured out a way that we can work well
and-
with them
and
yet lah.
You know what's funny also is that even on social media, sometimes I'll see comments of Gen Zs making comments about Gen Alpha already, saying that they are like so different. They are like so
Gen Alpha is what?
like
After 2012. So I think less
the
than
new
12
gen,
years old.
12 years old and below.
the youngest generation.
Younger
So there's like
generation.
a new one already, and I'm pretty sure
It will
in
just
like
continue.
5-10 years time, the Gen Zs are gonna be exactly like us, maybe close to making similar comments.
Yeah,
about
but it's just
Gen
different
Alpha.
lah.
Yeah.
It's just different.
I mean, it's always, history always repeats itself, lah. Right? Before our parents, I'm sure their parents thought that life was way harder. And I'm
Yeah.
sure going back to the hunter-gatherer times where they had to literally hunt for their meals every day, I'm pretty sure they would think their lives were way harder also. Right? So, yeah, I mean, I guess with that said, do you guys have any last...
I guess for me, it's just I do feel Gen Zs are a very untapped source of potential also. And I think they just need strong mentors to be able to guide
to
them.
awaken lah.
To awaken. We can always meet each other in the middle, lah, right? Because as much as you want to deliver meaningful impact, there are some elements of hard work and compromise that has to be in place. And these are companies that have helped bring the world economy to where it is today also. And they will unlikely change for a new generation, lah, right? But at the same time, if I were the new batch of Gen Zs and potentially eventually the new Gen Alphas, and if I can see an employer and a company that is willing to make compromise and to adapt to help bring me to my next potential also, I think I will be more than willing to put in my effort for them. So I guess,
I mean, as an organization, no way you don't hire Gen Zs forever, what?
yeah.
Right? You know,
True,
one day
true,
or
true.
it ends, right? So you have to
Or online
adapt.
force.
No, you have to adapt at some point, right? So why not now? I think, as I said just now, every generation there are people with aligned values. It's just that it's harder to find in a generation that is unlike yours, right? So you just need a better way to find these people. And I think the best way is that you are clear about what you're looking for. Both parties, as an individual and as a hirer or whatever it is, right? And then when you do that, then you must manage the expectations and be upfront about what it entails. Right? If the job is hard, say it's hard. Don't say that, you're gonna have work-life balance.
I guess that's something we do well.
Yeah,
thankfully.
you tell people, we got work-life balance, but yet you can earn super high income. There got such thing.
Something has
Yeah,
always got to give.
I mean, if have, please tell me. I also want to do. Right. So if you attract people like that, then I mean, don't be surprised when they come and call later on, when they realize that things are not as rosy as it seems. Right. So I agree, compromise on both ends.
Yeah.
That's the only way to make it work, right? I mean, moving forward, we are likely going to have to hire more Gen Zs than any other generation, at least in the next 10 years.
Yep.
Right, as an
Until the
organization.
Gen A come out.
Yeah, until they turn of age,
Gen
right?
Alpha.
So, on that note, we cannot not adapt to that also. Right, but I do think we do have the tools and we do have the foundations to build very, very strong, successful Gen Z producers.
Environment.
I mean, we have
and
already done
consultants.
it before.
Yeah, we have done it
Done
already.
it.
So I know for sure we can. Just that we need to be, I mean, it always can be improved, I would say. We are not at the optimized capacity yet, I feel. I mean, that's just my point of view.
So on that note, also, we do want to welcome any Gen Zs who have an opinion about this topic on how we can even do better. We openly invite for discussion, for collaboration. So just come. You can even DM us out for a meal or whatsoever. But feel free to just comment. And yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that wraps up episode 7 of Against the Grain. And don't
We'll see
forget
you
to
at-
like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you at episode 8.
All right, see you guys.